Hi, I'm Catherine Morgan. I am the founder of Point A to Point B Transitions and also the founder of the Depression Discussions, the conversations entrepreneurs need to have. Today, it is my great pleasure to bring you my dear friend, Phil Gerbyshak, one of the most beloved people in cyberspace and just someone who I treasure. Thanks for coming on, Phil.
Heck yeah, Catherine. I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad that you're having these discussions because I know they help me and I know they help others. So thank you for doing this.
Well, our whole goal, my whole goal, and the people who've come together to help me do this, we think we just need to drag this conversation out of the closet. Every time that we lose somebody, one of our great creatives or entrepreneurs, everybody gets real and talks about their struggles, their business, their personal ups and downs and the trials of putting themselves out there, which we do every bloody day. And, some days it's great and you get great feedback and some days not so much. And I think that if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have some big old ups and downs. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it goes beyond social media. It goes into life. And I think we have to remember that often social media is just a bunch of pictures and articles about greatest hits and not the regular day.
Interesting. Okay. Shiny, happy life syndrome.
Yeah. I call it flowers and sausages, right? I think that's what happy is, right? Because I love my breakfast sausage and I love sausage on a pizza and flowers are shiny and bright and I can be shiny and bright too, but not every day is like that. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I need to, I guess, remind myself and maybe hopefully help that with other people too.
Yeah. Well, you are, colorful, bright, loud. You're a speaker, you travel, you train, you're LinkedIn sales guru. People would not necessarily know that you have your ups and down days like anybody else.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think, in fact, it's funny. I just had breakfast with a buddy of mine who said, wow, it looks like business has been bananas for a while, like really amazing. And I'm like, well, business has been pretty good. It hasn't been perfect. And sometimes it sucks. I mean, last year, there was a point that I had like 40 cents in the bank that really sucked. And it really kind of, it tested everything that I am because I felt like I was doing a lot of the things right and I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And that sucks because, when you have a set of values, like guiding principle, and then things don't turn for you for whatever reason, it hurts, it hurts to the core. I think those of us that live by our values, that live by our heart, that we're heart-based entrepreneurs, that often comes across as rejection of self. When a client says no, or I had a client that fired me with no reason. Like she's just like, we're just not going to work together anymore. I'm like, okay, well, do you mind telling me why? Sure, I'll tell you. And then crickets. She didn't tell me anything. So I was like, oh my gosh, like what did I do that I created such a space that someone can't tell me what happened, that can't tell me why we're not going to work together? I questioned myself a lot and it was really depressing. I mean, I had days where I would spend literally, 6 or 7 hours thinking like, what could I have done differently? How could I have been better? Why didn't this work out? What's wrong with me? And
oh my gosh,
it sucks.
I'm sending you a virtual hug now because the intuitive hit that I got when you said that is it had nothing to do with you. You triggered some stuff that she wasn't or he wasn't willing to see in themselves.
Yeah. Well, I found out later that this person was going through some big time personal stuff and needed, I'm guessing needed to shift away from a masculine energy into a more feminine energy.
Okay.
And therefore working with me was, there was something there. Now I don't know. She'd never said that with me, but that's what I observed based on what I've seen happen with her this year, is that it wasn't about me. Now, sometimes it is, right? I'm going to be clear, Catherine. I,
Totally.
you know, I take responsibility for that. And I've had clients that aren't fits for sure, but sometimes it's not me. It's really not. And sometimes it is, but when it's not, and then I think that it is, man, that hurts. I mean, that sucks the most. I mean, it's like sometimes in relationships, really, when people say it's not me, or it's not you, it's me, they really mean that. And,
but it's so hard to separate.
yeah.
It's so hard. I was talking about this with Barry Moltz, and I'm like, I can hide behind the brand of point A to point B transitions, but they're hiring Catherine. I mean, it's personal, and you too. They're hiring Phil to come in and talk to my organization, Phil to help me with my book promotion. Like they're hiring you. It's personal.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, right? And I think that's taking it personally, I think, is the best and worst thing that we do as entrepreneurs. It's the best thing because I take personal responsibility. My growth is my problem. My sales are my problem. And I say problem like as an opportunity, right? Not as this is a challenge,
responsibility,
problem, right? But it's my responsibility, right? I need to take responsibility for my own success. And I think that's great. But that also means I have to take responsibility for the failures, but not necessarily ownership of them. Because sometimes it isn't me, sometimes it is them, and that's okay. But if we can't striate that, if we can't split that apart, it hurts a lot.
Yeah, you can get in that downward spiral of I don't know. You tend to might have this little OCD like I do, and this conversation just spins. It's on repeat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say that. The folks I'm coaching, I would say snap out of that, right? Like get over that. That's not that it's not you. Even if it was one time, get over it. It happens, get through it. But when you're coaching yourself, and I think most great entrepreneurs at least spend a little time in introspection.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're coaching yourself, you have to, what's the lesson here? What's the learning? And then I got to get through. I mean, you have to forgive yourself because it's not going to help you. It doesn't serve your clients. It doesn't serve you. And if you serve, I work from service. Like I work from heart, which,
me too.
I know you do. And that's the hardest part, right? Is sometimes when you work from heart, sometimes that means you rip your chest open and then it's there to stab it with a spork. And then you're like, that hurts, right? And it hurts more the more that you open up. So sometimes not being vulnerable, we think is being strong and smart. And when in reality, I don't think people connect to our successes as much as they connect to our lessons. And that's something that I constantly have to remind myself that what was a lesson there? What did I learn? Even if it was a success, not all of it was a success. Not all of it went exactly according to plan. So, so I need to do a better job of sharing that too.
Yeah, I think you're right, but there has to be a mix, right? We need to look at what happened. We need to objectively evaluate it. We need to pull out the learning, see if there's anything we can modify or bring forward with us, and then let that shit go because it does no service to keep beating yourself up with this stuff. It does nobody any good.
Yeah, well, I mean, but even in success, right, there's lessons there. And I think that's the good thing is if we focus on the lessons instead of just the outcome, I think we're better off. And a lesson can be a good lesson too, right? Like, I can tell you, I've got one of my favorite clients now. One of the lessons that I've learned from them is to listen first and to act second. And some of that was bumpy because we had, it took us about 3 months to kind of get on the same page because they said they wanted A. I talked about B at first, and really we came to an agreement that really we wanted E, which was a melding of A and B and then the C and D that was invisible and got to E. And the lesson there really is to, be present, pay attention to that. But in the midst of that, when we're totally kind of misfiring, man, that blows, right? Because that doesn't, the business doesn't close. You wonder what the heck you did. So I kind of tried, a lot of these, I try to take a longer view and a lesson-based view because some of this I can help others with. And some of this is for me. And some of this is like, yeah, well, don't do that again, dude. That was pretty stupid.
Hey, do you ever pull up sometimes and look at what you're doing and say, all right, now what would I tell my clients in this situation?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, both you and Raj Sethi, two people that I love and admire and I'm grateful for, they're in my inner circle, have said, you know, two words that help me a lot. And that is coach yourself, right? Take the time to coach yourself. What would you do? Pull up from, 5 foot and go to 50,000 feet. Right. And say, okay, dude, what does this really mean? What is the lesson here? What could you do? And the other thing that often helps, and again, heard this loud and clear from you and from Raj, and that is have a bias for action. So don't do nothing, right? Because I had days, Catherine, last year where I spent time, like days on end in bed. Like, I don't want to get out of bed. And those don't make it to Facebook. I don't take selfies of me laying on my back in my bedroom with my glasses off, like,
right.
Depressed as hell with a white t-shirt and being disheveled and not shaving for 8 days, right? That's those aren't selfies that you see of me. But those are real times and they suck. I mean, I don't know how better to say it other than, I hope I don't get any more, but I know that I will. Because life isn't perfect.
I think every entrepreneur struggles with some level of this. I mean, necessarily you have to. How much your depression is part of your life seems to vary person by person. Barry said that his really bad episodes tend to go in years that end in 5 and 0. Like every 5 years, he knows he's going to have some kind of a meltdown. Mine isn't like that. Mine's seasonal to some extent. And if you know that, you can manage against it. I also have a dialogue with my depression. It's kind of my constant companion. And it's like my lap dog that I send to its dog bed. But, I talk to it. I'm like, you know what, today's a good day. I'm going to kick some major ass today. And then, one day is like not, I feel like crap today. I am just going to go sit by the lake and read a book. And give myself permission for that because I'm not good to anybody that day.
Yeah, well, and I did that self-care, I guess, when I was in corporate. I told my boss, if I'm not at least 90%, I'm not going to come to work. And I realized that because my energy is very infectious.
Yes, it is. That's what we love about you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing when it's positive. It's a really poisonous thing when it's negative.
Right.
Like when I'm in the funk, I know that I can infect the world. And when I was in corporate, I would just not go to work, and that was okay. Like I could still respond to email. I had a BlackBerry. That we're dating myself here, but I was able to do that. I know you still have a BlackBerry, dear. You do. Yeah, that's okay. So yep, and I can find my flip phone too if you want. I mean. But but seriously, so I did that. Well, as an entrepreneur, sometimes I feel like I can't do that. Sometimes I don't give myself permission to do that. Or sometimes, let's flip that over, I give myself too much permission.
Yeah.
And I'll spend a week in bed.
Right. And when you really needed like one day of self-care, and then you could have kicked your own ass and gotten out of bed the next day.
Right. Yeah, because I don't have a schedule, right? Because the thing is every day kind of builds on the next. And builds on the ones before. So, momentum is both a good thing and a bad thing. If you have it, holy crap, like watch the Mo train go. And if you don't, it's like, what am I doing? Like, I don't have anything on the calendar today. I can just lay in bed for 10 hours. So I've had to self-motivate. Part of that, Catherine, as you know, is I moved to Florida from the Midwest. Wisconsin, I love my friends in Milwaukee, and I will miss them. And I miss being so close to you that we could go out and have a mojito and drive an hour and get together. It hurts my heart to miss that. At the same time, for my own life, moving to Florida is the best thing I've ever done.
I know. I see you on your beach and on your walks, and you are seriously loving all that sunshine.
Yeah. And the warmth. I mean, I didn't realize how important the warmth was until in December, the first year I was here, I went to the ocean. And I was like, if I was back in Wisconsin, it would be like 0 degrees.
Okay, do you remember how cold it was on your birthday party before you left?
Oh my God, it was like 12 degrees.
-2 or something.
Was it? Yeah, it was cold. Oh my gosh.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was horrible, right? In December. And knowing that, like on my birthday, I can go to Disney, I can go to the ocean, I can go to the Gulf, I can just go outside and walk and not have to worry, because I'm already naturally gifted in the clumsy department. So to trip and slip and fall, I mean, one year I slipped and I fell on my back. I was down for an hour. It hurt so bad.
Oh my God.
And so like I felt so helpless and so depressed. And I swear to you, I'm going through my mind is my life is over. Like I broke my back.
Right. I'm going to be paralyzed. You're going to like that place where you're.
And it crushed me, right? It hurt so bad. Like it wasn't even the pain of the fall. I think it's, and some of that's pride too, right? Like pride paralyzes us sometimes, and it did with me. And then the first year I was here, I was like, my goodness, like I get to be outside at the water, like running into the ocean instead of polar bearing and freezing my nads off. And like, what a difference.
Yep. I hear you. I hear you. So what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs about how to manage this emotional roller coaster that we're all going to navigate? What works for you? What's helpful?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is I try my best, and I don't always succeed at this, but I try my best not to compare myself to everybody else, especially everybody else on social. I mean, it really is.
As much time as you spend on social, that's got to be really difficult because you're seeing everybody's greatest hits all day long.
It is. Yeah. So that's the comparison trap is what that does. Comparison for me leads to imposter syndrome of, oh my gosh, I as a speaker, there are speakers that are just so far beyond me because they've been speaking 20 years.
Well, yeah, you could compare yourself to Bob Berg, who's a gorgeous human being, but, we're not there yet.
That's right. Yep. So I have to get out of that trap. That's the first thing that I encourage an entrepreneur to do is stop comparing your daily life to everybody else's greatest hits. The second thing is to understand and accept that really everybody does hurt. I think that's really important to understand that you're not alone here. There are, a lot of your friends have gone through what you've gone through. Maybe not today, right? Let's be really clear. Seldom is it that misery loves company, because those of us that don't like to be miserable aren't telling anybody about it. Okay?
That's actually what I'm trying to address with this.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. So we have to, but seldom though do we talk about it at the time it's happening. Right. It's much easier for me to detach and to kind of turn into coaching mode, right? And to talk about how it was. Yeah. So that's the second thing, right? Understand others aren't going through it at the same time. The third thing is that I find it's really important to reach out to your inner circle.
Oh my God.
So important. So that means develop an inner circle, right? Have people that you trust. I mean, Catherine, I love you dearly. I would do anything for you, and you are always there when I need you. And that is
you for me, and you for me.
Thank you. And that's so important, right? It's so important to have people that you can trust, that aren't going to judge you, that are just going to reflect the love that you've given them back, even on days that you hurt. Right. So that's the thing. And sometimes that doesn't mean picking up the phone or picking up the Zoom. It means sending a quick text that says, hey, I'm hurting today. Hey, today kind of sucks. And then I think the fourth thing is when you're up, check in on your friends, check in on your inner circle, make sure that you reach out to them when you are up, because what you don't want to be is that big sucker that only goes to people when you need stuff. You want to be, right? I mean, you got to pour in too. So really 4 should be 1, I guess. And that is, pour into your friends when you're up first, pour into your inner circle first. You talked about Bob Berg, right? Be a go-giver, give of your heart when your heart is strong. And when your heart is weak, then it's okay to ask for some help. And I think the last thing I would say is that even if you don't have an inner circle, there's still people out there that would be in your inner circle if you ask them. So don't be afraid to ask. Like I can't be friends with everybody an inner circle way, but I can tell you that if you see that I'm fooling around on social and you send me a text message or a private message that says, hey, dude, I've noticed you on social and you seem like someone that's approachable. I am. Like, and I mean that, and many people are, right? So,
Yeah.
that sometimes can just help. Like, hey, like, I noticed that, you're usually positive and I'm feeling like crap right now. Can you help me? Like, I just need 10 minutes. I just need someone to tell me that, to screw my brain on right. And
Yeah,
that's okay.
that I'm not broken, I'm not crazy, I'm not damaged, I'm having a bad day. I might have a better day tomorrow. It might suck for a week, whatever. Like, yeah, yeah. And that's, you know what, you made such great points. I'm going to end it there because I can't do any better than that. Philly G, my love, Phil Gerbyshak, thank you so much for being so honest and so helpful.
It's a pleasure.
Love you, friend.
Love you too, Catherine. Thank you, my friend.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Catherine Morgan, and I'm the founder of the Depression Discussions. I hope you enjoyed this interview and learned something. If you know somebody who can benefit from it, please do share it and participate in the discussion on Facebook. If you need some more personal help, I work with entrepreneurs who are transitioning to corporate jobs as employees. And I also work with solo consultants who just don't love their business anymore and help them figure out how to turn it into something that they enjoy working in again. If that sounds interesting, you can find me on LinkedIn or at my website, point A to point B transitions.com. Please download my free ebook. People tell me it's super helpful figuring out their right next step. And I look forward to speaking with you at the Depression Discussions. Thank you.